is closed and you're standing there, right? And the receptionist is sitting there, knows you're there, doesn't acknowledge you, and finally, after like, minutes of staying there, yes, right? Hi, Ian Galenter, here to see Dr. Smith. Have a seat. Fill out these forms, right? You're like, oh, wait, have I done something wrong? Have I angered you? But that's actually the nature of not only the role that has evolved, it's also frequently the nature of the personality of the person that takes that job. Letitia has this very cool word for them. She calls them the window witch. 90% of them are mean. I mean, I don't know how to say it. They're just mean. They're not happy people. Maybe someone is, but I've rarely found them. And so it's okay to recognize that that is an uncomfortable communication, interpersonal dynamic. But when you see what we're going to do, you're going to hopscotch over that to get to the good part, to the point that it won't be an issue anymore. So let's take a look at who the players in the practice are. And this doesn't mean that every single practice has the exact same group of players. It means that for the most part, this is the way it shakes out. Some bigger practices have a few more, and some smaller practices, don't have that many. So let's start at the top. The receptionist is the window witch. Her job is to block you. Period. Whether you're a patient or whether you're, even more importantly, you're a salesperson or somebody who's coming, for any other reason in business, they don't care. Their job is just to prevent you from getting in. Literally. The office manager or the nurse manager, if there is a larger practice, frequently they do double duty, is somebody who is an influence. Oh, by the way, the receptionist can't say yes. I left a note. They're barely an influencer. They can say no. They can't say yes. So all too often, a mistake happens when we try to introduce to the receptionist and actually think we're going to get them to move us forward and pass us on and say yes and get on her. That's not their job. They can't say yes. They have no power to say yes. They're empowered to say no, but not yes. Can they?
Just as a side note, for chiropractors, sometimes that's different because the receptionist can be the office manager, the receptionist, and the wife of the chiropractor.
Yes, so we're going to cover that. Right, and so to Jess's point, this isn't always a perfect hierarchy, but when it exists, this is kind of if we break it out, this is what it looks like. The office manager or nurse manager is an influencer. They can't say yes either. They can say no, but they can influence what happens. They can influence you and your access to the doctor. They're overworked. There's really no incentive. If you look at their major challenge in spending time with you, it's I'm completely overworked, I'm underpaid, I'm probably underappreciated, I haven't had a raise in God knows when, and you're going to come in and give me something that's just going to simply make more work for me. So we kind of have to understand that mentality. The physician's assistant or the staff physician, not much of an influencer. They can't say yes. They can kind of get in the way. They are an employee mentality. They're a physician's assistant or a staff physician, meaning they don't own the practice. So they work there. They don't want to rock the boat. Frequently they're new, and so they don't really have a lot of the ability to do a lot. The physician or the physician partner is the owner. Sometimes there's multiple physician partners or physician owners. They are the ones that can say yes. They're the only ones that can actually say yes. Everyone else can say no, but can influence. The doctor, the physician, can say yes. They're also the ones with a huge incentive to do this, but they're overwhelmed. So the goal in all this is essentially to get past her, to get through her, to get to them. Because ultimately, if we're calling on people that can't say yes, we're just wasting our time. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to learn, how do you get there? From the point of walking in from the street, and how do you actually make that happen? So to further the process, and again, this is the theory behind this, I really want you to understand what it is that we're trying to do. Does anybody know what the purpose of a resume is? Who wants to take a stab at this? To get an interview. It's not to get the job. A lot of people think the resume is to get you the job. It's not. It's simply to get the interview. It's to get your foot in the door. Once you're in the door, it's up to you what you do with that. So what we're trying to do is actually to get to the point, our introduction walking in off the street is simply to get us to that interview. That's really what we're trying to do. So the receptionist, I don't want to spend any time with him. I want them for only one reason, to get information that I need and to get them out of the way. I'm going to use them to give information that I need to figure out how to get to the doctor. And I'm going to then get them out of the way on my terms. They're going to try to block me, and I'm going to simply get them out of the way. The office manager, my goal for the office manager is, the interesting thing about the office manager, and with all due respect to the fact that there may be one person with all this, if we look at it just as a discrete, person and a role, they are able to influence the physician and frequently take a position of protecting the physician. I know what the doctor likes. I know what they will look at. Oh, they're not into that. Oh, they always look at these types of things, right? They feel almost like they're guarding the physician's time. And the best way to work with that person is to quickly establish credibility with them and to get them on your side, to establish a little bit of likability, right? So that you've gotten them to the point that they are willing to move the process forward for you. Either because they just like you, or they think what you have would resonate with the doctor, or they think it's a good thing for the practice and the doctor needs to see it. That comes from establishing credibility. If they think there's something there and that you're credible, they will stop and say, okay, yes, it's more work for me, but I believe this is the right thing to do. Two, if they like you, they're more comfortable with the idea of moving it forward. They may not take the ownership of this past a certain point, but at least they'll agree to move it forward. So that's our objective, is to get ourselves credible instantly, in the first 8 seconds. We're not there to sell them, we're establishing credibility.
So I don't want to interrupt you, but
Correct.
So you really, the reception is just trying to get to the office manager? Is that what you're trying to do?
Well, I'm trying to get to the doctor.
I know you are.
Yeah,
but
and we're going to cover that. Yeah. You'll see sort of a tree of how this goes. Ultimately, I want to get everything I want to lead to the doctor. I may have to get to the office manager
Maybe
first.
you'll go around them if
Uh-huh.
they possibly do that, but if not, that's the next step.
Yeah, you'll see that actually in a next hierarchy. The doctor, I'm also going to establish credibility very quickly. What is the average attention span of a doctor? Less than a gnat. Completely overwhelmed, right? You heard from Dr. Katie last night all that they have to deal with. They just don't have the time. And by the way, you're not the only interruption. Even though the pharma world has slowed down, there's reps parading in constantly with the new oncology drug, the new statin drug, the new decongestant, the new whatever, testosterone. And for the most part, they're better looking than me. and so if you're actually going to capture the doctor's time, you have to be very credible very quickly. So we're going to do that with how we present ourselves and actually what we say. But instantly, we are going to, almost in the same sense, we are going to create the fear of loss, the fear of missing out, and that is actually what is going to motivate this person to take action. How many people have seen any of those get-rich-quick real estate, infomercials. The whole philosophy is, and they always have the same thing, right? I was a poor schlump. I didn't know anything about anything, but I signed up for this course, and now I'm worth, like, however many millions of dollars, and it was easy, I just followed the system. And inevitably, you'll sit there and you'll watch